All right, Scandalites and Says So Squad. First off, y'all might want to adjust your volume for this one because the sound might be a little funny. Technical problem. And second off, this is for all you ladies. Baby, have you ever had a sister that always tried to sleep with your man? A sister that always tried to steal your spotlight? A sister that was always spreading rumors and lies about you? Well, baby, the sisters in this story did all of those things. This is Ashley with Ashley Says So, and I am back with another old Hollywood scandal video. Today we are going to talk about the infamous feud between sisters Olivia de Havilland and Joan Fontaine. Go ahead and go to ashleysaysso.net, get your merch. If you want to send me gifts, the Amazon wish list is in the description. Now, honey, let's get to this disclaimer because we got to get to this scandalous thing, child. Let's get to it. Y'all know my disclaimer. I do not know what's true or false. I just find gossip and tea from online, books, magazines, word of mouth, anywhere I can find it, ball it up and tell you a story, and put it in a video for you guys. Here we go. The firstborn sister in our story is Olivia Mary de Havilland, and she was born July 1st, 1916 in Tokyo, Japan. Her mother's name was Lillian de Havilland, and her father's name was Walter de Havilland. And from the day Olivia was born, her mother Lillian fell absolutely and totally in love with her. I mean, Olivia was Lillian's living doll, her crown princess, and all of this would have been great if Olivia had been Lillian's only daughter. But on October the 22nd, 1917, a second daughter, Joan de Bouvier de Havilland, was born. And unfortunately for this second daughter, Joan, Lillian just didn't have any more love to give. All of her love was wrapped up in her first daughter, Olivia. And so this meant that from the very start, Lillian made a difference between her daughters that most people felt was unforgivable. Gossip claims that as babies, not only did Joan get the short end of the stick when it came to her mother's love, she also got the short end of the stick when it came to health. Both girls suffered childhood illnesses, but when it came to Joan, her illnesses were so severe that she would usually have to be on bed rest. You know, she would be sick and shut in all the time, whereas Olivia was able to go outside, play outside, go places with their mother Lillian. She was able to develop a strong personality, very confident. And so from a very early age, the attitudes of the two sisters were very different. Now, because Olivia was the outgoing one and the confident one, Lillian looked at her like she would be the successful one. And so Lillian began to uplift Olivia over Joan every chance she got. Gossip claims when the girls were around 5 and 6, Lillian had them reading Shakespeare and the Bible. Well, when it was Joan's turn, since she was so shy and timid, she started stumbling over words and mumbling, and allegedly Lillian hit her across her knuckles with a stick for messing up. And then she turned to Olivia all haughty-taughty like and was like, Olivia, stand up and show your poor sister Joan how it's done. And so Olivia stood up out of her chair and she read every word perfectly, all the while smirking at her sister Joan. And of course, this left Joan seething with jealousy. And then there are stories about how Lillian would buy brand new clothes for Olivia, beautiful clothes. But then when Joan wanted new clothes, she would tell Joan, no, you're not getting anything new. You're going to wait until Olivia wears her clothes, and then when she grows out of them, you're going to get the hand-me-down. And so because Lillian was making such a difference between her daughters and always propping Olivia up the way she did, Olivia started to believe that she was the best sister. And so allegedly she started to constantly tease and bully Joan. Rumor has it one of her favorite things she used to say was, "Oh, Joan, you'll never be good at anything, but don't worry. When I die, I promise to leave all my beauty to you, because Lord knows you have no beauty of your own." And not only did Olivia start to bully and tease Joan, she would get very upset if Joan won at anything. Gossip claims when the girls were around 10 and 11 years old, they ended up taking a IQ test. And on this test, Joan scored higher than Olivia. Baby, the folks say Olivia waited until her and Joan went swimming later that day. And child, as soon as they got to the pool, Olivia pushed Joan down on the ground. She started slapping Joan, and she actually jumped on top of her and fractured Joan's collarbone. And then on top of all of this crazy stuff going on between the two sisters, their life started to change, and it wasn't for the better. Rumor has it their mother and their father ended up getting a divorce, and their mother ended up remarrying a man by the name of Joan Fontaine. And this new stepfather was said to be very strict on the girls. And what's worse, he started to abuse the girls, to molest them. And so this was bad for both girls, but Joan was really suffering because now she was being abused by her stepfather, and she also was dealing with this sort of abuse from her sister and her mother. And so soon Joan starts searching for relief. So she ends up moving back with her birth father. But listen to how messed up this is, y'all. Gossip claims her own birth father propositioned her for some stuff. Ain't that a doggone shame? The folks say Joan packed her bags right back up and moved back with her mother, her sister, and her stepfather. And when Joan got back to America, baby Lillian acted like she hadn't even noticed her daughter was gone. Because see, now her other daughter, her favorite daughter, Olivia, has started acting in theater. And so of course she was giving all of her time, her love, and her support to Olivia. While Olivia is kind of ramping up to try to become this big time actress, Joan is kind of treated like the help. Joan, you know you're supposed to have this whole house clean when we get back. Joan, what did you make for dinner? Like kind of like a maid. And so Joan goes up to their mother Lillian and she basically tells her, hey mother, you know, you have Olivia in all of this acting and stuff. I would like to do that too. And Joan possibly thought her mother was going to be like, you know, yes, finally my baby is coming out of her shell. And Lillian actually reacted like, why do you want to act all of a sudden? Why do you want to do anything to take attention from your sister? Olivia is the star in this house. And so she told Joan, you know, you can go start an acting career if you want to, but you're going to have to find another last name. And so that is how Joan decided to use their stepfather's last name. So she came into the acting industry with the name Joan Fontaine. Now, since Joan decided to go ahead and enter show business, of course, Olivia was ticked off by this, but she kind of felt like, you know what, let Joan do her thing. She'll come in second best like she always does. But honey, Olivia thought like lick and she thought she pooted when she really shit. Because Joan ain't had no intention of being second best when it came to this acting thing. And so both of these sisters, Joan Fontaine and Olivia de Havilland, were off to the movies. And Hollywood would forever be entertained by this sibling rivalry. Now, at the start of this competition, Olivia was in the lead, honey. She would get better roles than Joan. She would get more roles than Joan. And the roles that Olivia got were huge roles. I mean, baby girl starred in A Midsummer Night's Dream. She was in The Adventures of Robin Hood. She was in the movie They Died with Their Boots On. Homegirl was even cast in the biggest movie of all, Gone with the Wind. So Olivia had those hits, honey, and most people were looking at Joan like, whoopsie daisy, I guess your sister has bested you again. Because as Olivia was shining and getting all of these big roles, Joan was getting roles, but they certainly weren't anything big time like Olivia was getting. But Joan wasn't worried at all. She was just biding her time, waiting to be offered her first blockbuster role. And when that time came, she was gonna smash it to Olivia and show her just who was boss. And god dang it if that heifer didn't do just that. Child, the year was 1941, and Joan got notice that she was about to screen test for an Alfred Hitchcock movie called Suspicion. Joan aced the screen test no problem, and she was cast for the role of Lena. Honey, that girl got in front of that doggone camera and brought out acting chops that nobody even knew she had. She played the role so well that people actually got lost in her character. And so the public absolutely praised her for this performance. And get this, she was even nominated for Best Actress. And so, honey, you know, with all of this stuff going on with Joan, Olivia had a cold chill go up her spine. But Olivia was Olivia, and she wasn't going down without a fight. So that same year in 1941, she starred in a movie called Hold Back the Dawn, and she put on a brilliant performance. And she too was nominated for Best Actress. Woo, baby, the rivalry is getting intense, honey. So anyway, since both sisters are nominated for an Oscar, they're both going all out getting publicity shots taken. They both make sure they show up to all Hollywood parties and make sure they show a little skin when they walk by the studio head. Honey, they are both gunning to win that Oscar. And then Oscar night of 1942 comes around. Both Joan and Olivia show up in their finest, looking absolutely gorgeous. When it is time for the Best Actress award to be revealed, Burgess Meredith goes up on stage, tells a couple of jokes, and then things get serious. It is time to reveal the winner of the Best Actress category. Burgess names all of the nominees, and then he says winner of the Best Actress category goes to, dun dun dun, Joan Fontaine for the movie Suspicion. Did it on her. That song wasn't out back then, but if it was, baby, I'm sure that's the one that Joan would have been listening to. Child, that girl did it, baby. All that stuff she had been suffering with all that time through her childhood and everything, baby, she was now finally able to show Olivia and her mama Lillian, it's me, I'm the one. And you know, while Joan was celebrating, Olivia could have burned up on the spot. But while Olivia was questioning, wondering, and gasping for air, Joan looked at her sister while she delivered her winning speech, and baby, from this moment, it was on, honey. She was about to be on Olivia's behind like white on rice. The folks say at one point, Olivia was dating Howard Hughes, and said Joan would find every reason to stop by Howard Hughes' office. Whenever she spotted Howard Hughes alone at a get-together or a party, she'd chat him up. Joan did so much flirting that Howard ended up falling for her and allegedly asked for her hand in marriage while he was still dating Olivia. And honey, Howard Hughes ain't the only one by far. According to rumor, Olivia started dating a man by the name of Brian Ahern. And Joan suddenly lost all interest in Howard Hughes and started looking at Brian Ahern as well. Allegedly, Joan would pop up at Brian Ahern's house and, walk in like, oh, I thought my sister Olivia might be here. And child, I don't know if one of them times she popped up and put it on Brian or what. All I know is that soon Brian ended up breaking up with Olivia, and just like Howard Hughes, he ended up asking Joan to marry him. And Joan actually did marry him. And to be honest with you, as much as Joan is kind of like the underdog in this story, honestly, right here, she started to get a little bit too messy, taking things a little too far, doing a little too much. Because see, gossip claims after she married Brian Ahern, Olivia started dating actor James Stewart. And Olivia was very, very in love with James Stewart. As a matter of fact, gossip claims they actually went to the courthouse to get married. But when they got there, something happened with one or both of their agents telling them they didn't need to get married at this stage in their careers. And then they kind of drifted apart. Baby, why come the folks say that when they drifted apart, Joan seduced him and slept with him? And James, no, he wrong, just sitting up there pooking it up with both of the sisters. And when Olivia found out about Joan messing with the true love of her life, the folks say that this scarred their relationship deeper than it ever had been scarred before. And it got bad. The rift was becoming very public. The sisters started kind of putting each other down during interviews. And if anybody had any doubts that there was a rift, baby, the year 1947 showed it all. And let me tell you about it. So by 1947, Olivia and Joan has been going back and forth, talking about each other, doing all this good stuff. And so they're not even talking at this stage. But Olivia ends up being nominated for an Oscar that year for Best Actress. Now, Joan is not nominated for anything. But one thing about it, Joan decides that she's still going to that doggone ceremony. And remember, she and Olivia are not even on talking terms for real at this point. So they're sitting separately, barely got two words to say to each other. And then it gets to the Best Actress moment. And Olivia wins Best Actress. And honey, you should have seen Joan when Olivia won that award. She just, oh my gosh, oh yay, congratulations. Y'all haven't even been talking. So all of a sudden you standing up, clapping, yelling hooray. People took this as Joan trying to take the spotlight. And Olivia took this as Joan trying to take the spotlight as well. So Olivia was like, baby, I'm finna show you something. And so Olivia is standing on the side of the stage with her Oscar. Joan is rushing up the steps, and baby, as soon as Joan reached out to hug Olivia, Olivia snatches back like this, holds her Oscar to her chest, rolls her eyes, and walks off. Baby, you know Joan was mortified. When Olivia snatched away from her like that, baby, Joan didn't know what to do. She just sitting up there looking stupid. And that's exactly what Olivia wanted her to look like, because in her mind, Joan was trying to steal that spotlight, and baby, that's what she get. Now, after this huge embarrassment for Joan, Olivia was back in the driver's seat, because baby, not only did she win an Oscar in 1947, she won a second one in the year 1950. But to get back to the story, because the divide was so deep now, by 1952, Joan was living in New York City, and Olivia had moved to Paris. So they go through the whole 1950s without speaking to each other. And then when the 1960s came around, Joan ended up having a play in London. And there must have been a mediator or something in between the sisters, because somebody convinced Olivia to come see her sister's play. And Olivia does come to see Joan's play, but she still cannot bring herself to really mend the divide between them. And then, per Joan, there was another time in the 1960s where she tried to mend the divide with her sister Olivia. Gossip claims that Joan, who was back home in New York, actually called Olivia. And she was like, Olivia, I want to throw a party for you. Please come over to America. I want you to be my guest of honor. And so Olivia is like, oh, Joan, you know, that is so nice. Thank you so much. I'll be there. Let's Joan set up the whole party, decorate the apartment, have everything catered, invite all of the guests over to the party. And then when the party begins, the doorbell rings. Joan opens the door expecting her big sister Olivia, but instead there is a man standing there with a huge bouquet of flowers with a note in it. And that note says, I'm so sorry, darling Joan. I just couldn't make it to your party. Ta-ta. Now, ma'am, you knew you wasn't coming to that party that whole time. By 1975, the sisters were back at each other's throats. And that is because their mother, Lillian, ended up passing away. And Olivia took over all of the proceedings, all of the business dealing. And gossip claims she scheduled Mama Lillian's funeral and didn't tell Joan about it. Joan ended up finding out the date of the funeral through a mutual friend, and to her horror, the day of the funeral is on a day that she cannot get there. And so Joan is like, Olivia, change the date. And Olivia's like, I'm sorry, I'm not changing anything. And so this huge argument breaks out, and finally Joan tells Olivia, you're gonna change the date of that funeral so I can come, or I am gonna go to every media source I can find, and I'm gonna tell them what kind of witch you are, and how you're trying to block me from coming to our mother's funeral. And so the folks say having Olivia fearful for her reputation is what made her change the date of the funeral. And so Joan was able to attend. And per Joan, this right here broke her heart so bad, with her sister trying to block her from coming to their mother's funeral, that she vowed at the funeral that today was the day that she was going to say goodbye to her mother and goodbye to her sister forever. And according to rumor, that's exactly what happened. They never spoke again. The story says there were a couple of times they were in the same place, like when they both attended the Oscars of 1979, but they didn't say a word to each other. And then sometime in the 1980s, they both unknowingly booked a hotel room at the Beverly Hills Hotel. And just so happened a fan, or maybe even the desk clerk, told Joan, oh, hey, you're here. I just saw your sister, Olivia. She just checked in. Baby, that's all Joan needed to hear. She picked up her suitcases and she walked out the door. And so the ever-competing sisters were just leading two separate lives as they became older. As a matter of fact, Even them living even became a kind of a competition. They both looked at it like, if I live longer, I win. And unfortunately, it was Joan Fontaine who ended up with the short end of the stick. She made it all the way up to 96 years old before she ended up passing away in the year 2013. So in Olivia's mind, she had done it. And she reigned supreme until her very end, which came in the year of 2020. Olivia de Havilland was 104 years old. So anyway, this is the end of the story of the infamous feud between two sisters. And although the story is very scandalous and entertaining, it is pretty sad, honestly. You know what I'm saying? It's pretty sad that these sisters could never mend their feud and they died not talking to each other. It's just kind of sad to think about, that's all. But like some people say, whether it's family or in a romantic relationship, some people are just better apart. They love each other. They're just better apart. But anyways, guys, this is Ashley with Ashley Says So, and I am so sorry about the sound quality on this video. But anyways, if you like this video, the story, please like this video. If you're new here, please subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Bye.